Hi, it's Maya here with a book haul, and yes, I am still sitting in this corner. Sorry about all the shadows. I'm filming this right after my Friday read, so maybe next time I'll have my filming setup figured out. But let's start with the haul. I will have some physical books that I bought, then a library haul, and then some ebooks that I bought. Let's start with my most recent purchase that just arrived yesterday, and that is And What Can We Offer You Tonight by Primi Mohammed. And this I mentioned in my most anticipated novellas video a couple of months ago. And this is like a dystopian fantasy with ghosts, quite a dark book, I think. And it's a novella from the Neon Hemlock novella line. It starts with this beautiful illustration. I'm gonna read you the first sentence of this. The dead girl woke and asked for her perfume, and we gave it to her, and she slept again. So this is about Jewel, who is an established courtesan in a luxurious house, and her friend is murdered by a client but somehow comes back to life, and they will get to revenge. And then I have two books from the summer, which I still haven't read, even though they are my most anticipated releases of the year because of I haven't been reading. So the first of those is The Witness for the Dead by Catherine Addison, which is set in the same world as The Goblin Emperor, and this is about a witness for the dead, so it doesn't follow the same main character as the first book. This is about Kelehar, who lives in the city of Amalo, far from the court, though not exactly in exile, and he is a witness for the dead. I can't remember exactly what that means, but he can sometimes speak to the recently dead. I do remember him from the first book from Goblin Emperor. And the first sentence of this goes, in the jumbled darkness of the catacombs beneath the city of Amalo, there was a shrine to Ulis in his aspect as god of the moon. And on to my second most anticipated release of the year, which was The Crumrin Chronicles. Volume 1 is called The Charmed and the Cursed by Ted Nafee, and this is a follow-up series for the Courtney Crumrin series, which is one of my favorite graphic novel series. It is like middle grade dark fantasy with the Fae and with a preteen witch main character. And this one is about Courtney's little brother. And the first page looks like this. And it starts, long ago 2 mortal boys stole into the Twilight Kingdom to see for themselves the wonders and terrors only told of in fairy tales. So those were actually all the physical books that I bought during the past months. I have a Spindle Splintered by Alexia Harrow on its way to me, but that hasn't arrived yet. But last week, this cute Kobo cover arrived that I had ordered for my Kobo because I didn't have a cover that fitted. And it is this cute axolotl thing. It has like a denim back, and then it has this axolotl design and polka dots on the inside. And it's the perfect size for a Kobo Libra. And I will leave a link to the Etsy store in the description. It's an Italian store, so I think they will arrive quite quickly to in Europe. So at least to Finland it arrived when after it shipped it took a little under a week for it to get to me. I'm not used to that because I have ordered these sort of covers from Etsy stores in like Canada before, so that takes a little longer. Then I have also bought one manga, and I bought Yotsuba Volume 15 by Kiyohiko Azuma, and this is such a lovely manga series that comes out quite slowly. So it's been like, I think 2 years in between the last volume and this one. I was so happy when I saw this in the bookstore and I read it, because this was something perfect for me to read when I was completely exhausted from the move. So I had such a great time reading this. I was trying to save it and read like a chapter a day. So this just tells about the everyday life of Yotsuba, who is this little kid, and her father. And it's just like very simple daily things like Yotsuba and socks, Yotsuba and the rocks, Yotsuba and watercolors, and so on and so forth. This is the Finnish translation. So the first page is a nature scene. Then there's a flying teddy bear. Yes, Yotsuba throwing the bear. I just love these. Let's move on to the library books. I have a couple of novellas first. I have Nnedi Okorafor's Remote Control, and this one is maybe a science fiction novel. I actually don't know a lot about this. I just thought it sounded interesting when I read the description before it came out. So it says here that she's the adopted child of the angel of death. Beware of her, mind her, death guards her like one of its own. So that like hooked me. So the first sentence of this is, The moon was just rising when Sankofa came up the dirt road. And I will read this quite soon. Novellas are something that I have been able to read when I haven't been able to read. I've read a lot of manga and some novellas, so this one will be quite soon on my list. And the other novel that I have from the library is the science fiction novella Fugitive Telemetry by Martha Wells, which is the most recent Murderbot novella. And this is about the free security unit Murderbot, who has deactivated its governor module and has had all sorts of adventures and tries to learn to live in this new freedom and find its place. But the first sentence of this one is, the dead human was lying on the deck on their side, half curled around. I know that this takes place actually before Network Effect. This is written after, but takes place before that. So I am excited. I just finished, like I said in my Friday reads, Network Effect a while ago, and I immediately got this from the library, so I'm going to jump into this again quite soon. Then I have a couple of older books. I have Time of the Twins by Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman. This is the first in the Dragonlance Legends. I reread the Chronicles last year. I had a great time, and now I'm rereading the Legends. I do own them in Finnish, but I wanted to read them in English. So this one continues the story of a few characters from Chronicles, mainly the brothers Raistlin and Caramon. Raistlin is my favorite character, if you didn't know, so I'm really looking forward to rereading this. And the first sentence is, a lone figure trod softly towards a distant light. Looking forward to this. I don't know, I hope that I could get the Legends reread this year, but let's see. Then also an older book from the archival library. I got the first part of the Finnish translation to Alexandre Dumas' La Dame de Montsoreau. This is called Meridorin Kaunotar, the beauty of Meridor, in Finnish. And it says that the translation was checked in the 60s, but I think it was actually translated in the 30s. And there hasn't been a new edition after the 60s in Finnish of this. So I'm reading them from the archival library. It has been translated in 4 parts, so this is just the first fourth of the novel, but I'm gonna start with this and hopefully finish the book this year. I don't know what this is about. It follows after Queen Margot. I can't remember what this one is called in English. I will put it on the screen, but it is like a historical French adventure scheming thing. And then completely randomly I got from the library Forest of Souls by Lori M. Lee. When I saw it on the shelf, I couldn't resist because of this beautiful dark cover. And I had read something about this before, but it's like a couple of years ago before it came out. And it just looked like a dark fantasy. It's a young adult book. It looked like quite goth. So this is about Saoirse, whose best friend is killed by shamans, and Saoirse is summoned to the domain of the Spider King. Yeah, I remember that. That sounded so interesting. And the first sentence of this is, the earth is black with last night's rain, a perfect morning for shadows. Sounds like my kind of thing. Then I have a couple of manga. I'm gonna really go into this, but I have volume 81 of One Piece, which is a shonen pirate adventure manga. Then I have volume 7 of Sugar Sugar Rune, which is like a middle grade modern fantasy with like a couple of witches vying to become the next queen. Then I have volume 6 of Dorohedoro by Q Hayashida, which is this dark fantasy horror series about this, well, about lots of things. About this guy with a lizard head who is trying to find the wizard who transformed his head into a lizard, basically. And a lot of other fun characters. Oh, and One Piece is by Eiichiro Oda, and Sugar Sugar Rune is by Moyoko Anno. And then I have a graphic novel. I have Princess Ever After by Kay O'Neill. I have read Tea Dragon Society from them before, and this one is an earlier work. It just looked like fun. I don't know what it's about. Here's what the art looks like. Very bold colors and lines. And the first actual line is, hurry Celeste, we're almost at the tower. All right, last but not least, let's talk about a few ebooks that I got for my Kobo on sale. They're all fantasy books. I wasn't planning on starting to fill my Kobo with books. I was planning on like buying one when I have finished one and also using this mainly for library books. But then there were so many good new fantasy books on sale that I picked up a few. I have a lot of like ebooks that I haven't read on my Kindle, so I don't want to accumulate that much on my Kobo. But let's go through the ones that I bought. So the first one isn't actually that new. It is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, but it was like under €2, so I picked it up. I watched the TV series adaptation and I wanted something light to read and fun, so I decided to try out the novel. In case you don't know what Shadow and Bone is about, I'm not really that good at explaining it, but it is a young adult fantasy series about a girl called Alina who is found out to have these rare powers that would help them get rid of this, I don't remember what they called it, this veil, basically this wall of blackness that separates two parts of this country. But the first sentence of this is, the servants called them Malenchki, little ghosts, because they were the smallest and the youngest, and because they haunted the Duke's house like giggling phantoms, darting in and out of rooms, hiding in cupboards to eavesdrop, sneaking into the kitchen to steal the last of the summer peaches. It's a cute start. And next I have books that are like more recent releases that I cannot give a synopsis about. I just got caught in the excitement of having these quite recent releases be like €2 or something like that. I bought The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart, which is the first book in the Drowning Empire series. All I know about this is that there's bone shard magic. The first sentence of The Bone Shard Daughter is, Father told me I'm broken. And then I got The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke, which is the first in the Magic of the Lost. All I know about this is that the cover is gorgeous, and there's a soldier and then there's an aristocrat or noble of some sort who are the main characters, and that's basically all I know. But I hadn't like known stuff about this before. Like when they came out, I knew stuff about them, but then I have forgotten, so that's why I can't tell you a lot about them. And the first sentence of The Unbroken is, a sandstorm brewed dark and menacing against the Kwasali horizon. I can't speak English. I've tried so many times to say this sentence and I can't say horizon. I tried to say horizon, because it's horisontti in Finnish. So let's try that one again. A sandstorm brewed dark and menacing against the Kwasali horizon as Lieutenant Turain and the rest of the Baladaren Colonial Brigade sailed into Elwast, capital city of Ghazal, foremost of Baladere's southern colonies. That had a lot of like names in it, but we're gonna see how it goes. And then, not that recent release, but quite new to me, I also bought Jade City by Fonda Lee. The last book of this trilogy is just coming out. The trilogy is called The Green Bone Saga. At least I think it's a trilogy, now that it says a saga, I'm not quite sure. But in this one, I know that there's a world with these crime families, and there's this wanted a substance called jade that gives you some sort of powers. And then there's power struggles and stuff. And the first sentence of Jade City is, the two would-be jade thieves sweated in the kitchen of the twice lucky restaurant. And the last thing that I picked up was The Inheritance by Robin Hobb or Megan Lindholm. So this is short stories from both of Robin Hobb's, the names that she writes under, and they are quite different sort of stories. I haven't read anything from the Megan Lindholm side before, and this one has some stories that I need to read that were written between the Rainwild Chronicles and the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. So before I jump into the Fitz and the Fool, I will read these short stories. So that was my haul of library books, ebooks and physical books. Let me know if you have read some of these and enjoyed them and what I should read first. I think I'm gonna go with the novellas actually, but let me know what I should read after those. And also, do you have like a favorite character in the Jade City books? Because I have only heard stuff about the world and about the Jade, and the reason why I had hesitated picking it up during these years, because the series is gonna now finish, I think, and I still haven't read the first one because I hadn't heard anything about the characters. I don't know if I hadn't looked in the right places, but I'm a character focused reader, so I want to know about the characters instead of the world. So if it has great characters, if you love a character from the Jade City books, let me know. But that is all from me for now, and I will see you in my next video.